Ladies and gentlemen, champions and warriors, today I've got one message for you that can change your life. Not next year, not next month, but today. Believe in yourself and you will be unstoppable. Listen, the greatest enemy of your success is not the competition, it's not the economy, it's not your past. The greatest enemy of your success is your disbelief in your own potential. See, you weren't designed to be average. You weren't created for mediocrity. You were born with divine potential, encoded with greatness, and called to dominate, not just survive, but thrive. Let's break this down into key truths that will unlock the unstoppable version of you. Your belief system is the engine of your life. Everything you do, every move you make, every decision, every delay, it all flows from the beliefs that live in your mind and your heart. You see, the mind is a powerful engine like a high-performance machine, built to create, to think, to solve, and to build. But no matter how sophisticated that engine is, it won't take you anywhere without fuel. And that fuel is your belief. Not your wish, not your hope, your belief. Belief is what turns your mind from a dormant machine into a vehicle that can take you to the highest levels of life. Now, here's the problem most people face. They're walking around with all the potential in the world, but no fuel in the tank. They're trying to push a Ferrari, not drive it. And that's exactly what happens when you try to move forward in life without belief. You try to hustle, grind, strive, and strain, but it feels like you're pushing your dream up a hill with no momentum, no energy, and no power behind it. Why? Because deep down, you don't believe it's really possible for you. And when belief is absent, progress becomes exhausting. When belief is missing, action becomes forced. And when belief is weak, the vision starts to fade. Belief is not just a mindset, it's a launch pad. It's the ignition switch that sets your gifts on fire. When you believe in something deeply, truly, from the inside out, your whole energy changes. Your posture shifts. Your voice carries a different weight. Your actions move with a sense of purpose. You don't tiptoe into your goals, you run at them. You don't just show up, you arrive. And here's the real truth. You've got to believe in the outcome before you ever see the income. That's where faith comes in. That's where confidence is born. Most people want proof before they believe, but successful people believe, and then they produce the proof. You've got to act like it's already yours, walk like you've already won, move like the deal is already done. Because faith is the currency of progress, and belief is how you spend it. Take a moment and think about this. Have you ever tried to do something amazing, but deep down you were filled with doubt? Maybe you were launching a business or stepping into a leadership role or trying to sell a new product. On the surface, you were doing everything right, but the results just weren't showing up. Why? Because beneath the surface, you didn't truly believe you were capable. And so the universe didn't respond to your actions, it responded to your doubt. Let me give you a short, powerful example. There was once a young man named Marcus who wanted to become a speaker. He had the voice, he had the knowledge, he had the fire. But every time he stepped in front of a microphone, his voice would shake, he'd hold back, he'd shrink a little. One day a mentor pulled him aside and said, "Marcus, you're not being rejected because of your message. People can't receive your words because you don't believe them yet." That hit him hard. So Marcus went home, stood in front of the mirror every day for 30 days and declared with full conviction, "I am powerful. My words change lives. I am called to speak." He rehearsed that belief until it became real. And the next time he stepped on stage, something had shifted. He didn't just speak, he commanded the room. He didn't just talk, he transformed. That one change in belief became the engine that launched his entire career. You see, nothing around Marcus changed. The stage was the same, the mic was the same, even the crowd looked similar, but he changed. His belief changed. And that changed everything. That's what happens when belief becomes your fuel. You start moving in alignment with your purpose. You stop second guessing. You stop waiting for permission. You stop playing small. Instead, you rise up with confidence because you're no longer trying to convince the world. You've already convinced yourself. And when you reach that point, you become magnetic. You attract opportunities, relationships, resources. Not because you're lucky, but because your belief shifts your energy, and your energy shifts your results. You start to operate on what I call faith-fueled momentum. That's the kind of belief that moves mountains, that parts seas, that opens doors no man can shut. So if you're stuck, if you're tired, if you're pushing, and nothing seems to be working, don't just look at your strategy. Don't just fix your routine. Check your fuel tank. Check your belief. Because when you truly believe in who you are and what you've been called to do, when you believe in the vision like it's already happened, then and only then do you become unstoppable. Doubt kills more dreams than failure ever will. It's not the fall that ruins people. It's the fear of falling that keeps them from climbing in the first place. It's not the setback that steals the dream. It's the self-talk that says, who do you think you are, before they even take the first step. Doubt is more dangerous than defeat, because defeat gives you something to learn from, but doubt paralyzes you. It convinces you to never try, never move, never speak up, never launch, never write, never build, because what if it doesn't work? That's the trap. And too many people stay stuck in it for their entire lives. Failure is not the end. In fact, failure is part of the process. Failure teaches, it refines, it reveals. When you fail, you get information, you get insight, you learn what not to do next time. But doubt gives you nothing. Doubt is a thief that shows up in silence. It doesn't steal your success outright. It talks you out of ever going after it. It convinces you that the dream you were born with is too big for someone like you. And that voice doesn't just whisper. It repeats over and over until you believe it. The truth is, most people never fail in the real world. They fail internally before they ever show up. They fail in their mind. They lose the battle in their heart. They were defeated in private long before they were ever seen in public. And that's why they quit. Not because it was too hard, but because they doubted they were strong enough to handle it. That's why you've got to learn to silence that voice, because you were not born with doubt. You were born with belief. You were created with purpose. You were designed with greatness. But over time, through disappointment, rejection, and comparison, doubt creeps in and makes itself at home. Let me make it plain. Doubt is the enemy of your destiny. It keeps you on the sidelines while your calling is out on the field. And if you don't confront it, it will dominate you. You've got to evict it. You've got to choose every single day to believe in the power inside of you, even if you don't see the full picture yet. Because nothing will sabotage your success like a mind filled with self-doubt. Let me give you a real example to make this clear. There was a young woman named Layla who dreamed of becoming a fashion designer. Since she was a teenager, she had notebooks full of sketches, ideas, styles, all inspired, all unique. But every time someone asked her when she was going to launch her brand, she'd shrug it off. She'd say things like, "Oh, I'm not ready," or "It's too competitive," or who's going to buy from me when there are already big brands out there. Lena wasn't failing because her designs were bad. She wasn't even trying. She had already decided in her mind that she wasn't good enough, that no one would take her seriously, that she didn't have the resources, that maybe it was just a silly dream. Years went by, she kept drawing, she kept imagining, but nothing ever moved. Until one day, her friend secretly submitted her portfolio to a local startup pitch competition. Layla was furious when she found out, but her friend said, "You've got nothing to lose, just show up." Reluctantly, she did. She presented with shaky hands, her voice barely holding, but her design spoke louder than her fear. She didn't win the competition, but she won something greater, validation. One of the judges approached her afterward and said, "You've got something special, don't bury it in doubt." That moment broke something in her. Not because someone gave her permission, but because someone reminded her what was already inside her. From there, she launched a small Instagram page, started selling custom designs, and within 2 years, built a 6-figure business. All that time, she wasn't lacking talent, she wasn't lacking opportunity, she was only lacking belief. And that's what doubt does. It convinces you that your voice doesn't matter, that your gift isn't enough, that your purpose is reserved for someone else. But here's what you need to hear. You are more powerful than your doubt. Your potential is greater than your fear. You've got a seed of greatness inside you, but you've got to stop watering it with hesitation and insecurity. You've got to feed it with truth, with action, with faith. Because when you do, everything begins to change. You start taking chances. You start showing up. You stop waiting for someone to discover you and start discovering yourself. The moment you stop letting doubt run the show, you start living with boldness. You step into rooms differently. You speak differently. You move with conviction. And that's when the dream starts to breathe. So let me say it one more time and let it sink into your spirit. Doubt kills more dreams than failure ever will. Don't let it kill yours. Identity determines destiny. It always has, and it always will. You don't get in life what you want, you get what you are. You attract into your life the level of belief you carry about yourself. It's not just about goals, it's not about strategy, it's not about hard work alone, it's about identity. Because your actions are a reflection of who you believe you are. And if your internal identity is small, insecure, or uncertain, your external results will always match that. You can tell yourself you want success. You can write it down, say it in affirmations, put it on your vision board. But if deep down you still see yourself as average, as not good enough, as someone who always falls short, that's the life you'll create. Because the subconscious mind does not produce what you desire, it produces what you believe is true about you. That's why people can attend the same seminar, read the same book, hear the same motivational speech, and still end up with different results. It's not what they heard, it's how they see themselves that determines what they do with it. When someone sees themselves as a failure, they will unconsciously behave in a way that reinforces that identity. They won't try. They'll delay. They'll second guess. They'll give up early. Not because they're lazy, but because their identity doesn't match the destiny they say they want. And this creates frustration. You want more, but you keep running into a ceiling. Not an external one, an internal one. Because your identity creates your boundaries, it defines what you believe is possible, and it shapes what you believe you're worthy of. But here's the shift. The moment you begin to change your identity, the moment you begin to see yourself as strong, capable, powerful, favored, anointed, everything else begins to align. When you believe you are called for more, you start making decisions that match that calling. You speak differently. You walk differently. You don't chase opportunities begin to find you because your energy shifts. That's what happens when identity gets upgraded, destiny gets accelerated. Let me make it even more real for you with a simple but powerful example. There was a man named Chris who always dreamed of becoming a successful entrepreneur. He followed all the big names, read every book, watched every podcast, and even wrote out a full business plan. But for years, he never pulled the trigger. He'd get excited about an idea, then doubt would creep in. He'd say things like, I've never run a business before, or people like me don't succeed like that. And so he stayed stuck, watching, wishing. One day a mentor sat him down and asked him a simple question, Chris, who are you? Chris started listing what he did, like work in IT, I'm a dad, I like business. The mentor shook his head. No, he said, that's what you do. I asked who you are. Chris sat in silence. He didn't have an answer. And that's when the mentor said something that changed everything. Until you become the man who owns the business, you'll always be the man who just dreams about it. That hit him hard. Chris realized that his identity was still wrapped around who he had been, not who he was becoming. He saw himself as an employee, a worker, a background player, but he wanted the results of a leader, a CEO, a visionary. So he started doing the real work, not on the business, but on himself. Every morning, he declared out loud, I am a successful entrepreneur. I am a solution bringer. I am trusted, respected, and abundant. At first, it felt awkward. It felt fake. But over time, something shifted. He began making decisions from that identity. He started networking differently. He took action not as a person trying to be a business owner, but as someone who already was. And within a year, his business was live, profitable, and growing, not because of a new secret strategy, but because his identity finally matched his destiny. That's the secret. If you want to change your life, you don't start with your behavior, you start with your identity. You start by asking yourself, who am I becoming by the way I'm thinking? Because your current life is a reflection of your current self-amuse. And the moment you decide to elevate that image, the world begins to reflect it back to you. Not immediately, not overnight, but inevitably. You were not created to live a life beneath your calling. You were not designed to struggle endlessly. But you will continue to repeat cycles of frustration until you upgrade your identity to match your destiny. And that takes courage, it takes intention, it takes declaring every day, even before you see the results. I am powerful, I am favored, I am called for more. Because once your identity changes, your decisions change. And when your decisions change, your actions change. And when your actions change, your destiny is inevitable. You can't outperform your self-image. That truth is like gravity. It doesn't matter how much you fight it, deny it, or try to get around it. Sooner or later, your internal picture of who you are will become the ceiling for how far you go. You can chase goals, you can hustle hard, you can have talent, tools, and mentors. But if deep down you still see yourself as someone who doesn't deserve it, isn't enough, or isn't ready, you will unconsciously hit the brakes every time opportunity shows up. Not because you don't want it, but because some part of you still doesn't believe you're supposed to have it. This is why people self-sabotage. This is why people quit halfway. It's not because they're lazy or weak. It's because their actions are outgrowing their self-ideal. And the tension between the two eventually snaps. You can't outperform the identity you're carrying inside. You might get lucky for a while. You might even win a few times. But if the version of you that's winning doesn't align with how you truly see yourself, you'll find a way to bring your results back down to the level of your belief. You will never consistently do what you don't consistently believe about yourself. Let that sink in. That means if you don't truly believe you're smart enough, capable enough, worthy enough, you'll reject the very thing you said you wanted. You'll pass on the opportunity. You'll delay the decision. You'll talk yourself out of the risk. You'll stay small while convincing yourself you're being realistic, but in truth, you're not being realistic. You're being restricted by your self-image. See, the self-image is the thermostat of your life. You might get flashes of high performance. You might temporarily rise above your current level, but like a thermostat set at 68 degrees, even if the temperature spikes to 75, your internal system will kick in and bring things right back down. That's why lasting change only comes when you change the setting, when you raise the standard of who you believe you are. This is why affirmations matter. This is why declarations matter. Because you're not just trying to hype yourself up, you're reprogramming the subconscious image that drives every choice you make. You're not just speaking to hype, you're speaking to identity. And when identity shifts, everything shifts. Let me show you this with a real-world example that's simple but powerful. There was a young woman named Erica who dreamed of becoming a professional coach and speaker. She had a gift for communication, and people often came to her for advice. But she stayed stuck in a regular 9-to-5 job for years, even though she hated it. Every time she thought about launching her coaching business, she'd stop herself. She'd say, I'm not polished enough. I'm not certified. I don't look like those big name speakers. Who's going to listen to me? On the surface, it looked like procrastination. But underneath, it was self-meat. Erica still saw herself as the quiet girl in the background, not the bold woman with a microphone. So even though the opportunity was right in front of her, she couldn't bring herself to take it. Why? Because her self-meat didn't match the success she said she wanted. One day, her mentor gave her an assignment. He said, for 30 days, I want you to record a 60-second video every morning speaking as if you're already the successful coach. Dress like her, talk like her, think like her. At first, it felt fake, awkward, but she did it every morning, every day. And by the end of those 30 days, something had shifted. She started to believe it. Not because her resume changed, but because her self-mature got an upgrade. And once she saw herself as that woman, she started moving like her. Within months, Erica launched her business. She booked her first paying client. She spoke on her first stage. She wasn't waiting to feel ready anymore. She had become the version of herself who was ready. All because she stopped living from her past identity and started acting from her future one. That's what happens when you change your self-opportunity. Doors don't just open, they fly off the hinges. Because once you believe you're worthy, you stop waiting for permission, you stop asking for validation, you stop hiding your gift, you show up with authority because you finally see yourself the way you were created to be. So here's the truth. Your next level has nothing to do with what's outside of you. It's not about the economy, the algorithm, or the opinions of others. It's about the image you're carrying inside. Because you can only rise to the level that you believe you belong at. So if you want to change your results, don't start with your routine. Start with your self-image. See yourself as powerful, as favored, as chosen, as unstoppable. Because when your self-image matches your calling, your results won't just improve, they'll explode. Belief without action is just a good intention with no muscle behind it. It's a feel-good thought that lets you sleep at night but doesn't move the needle in your life. If you really believe in something, if you really believe in yourself, it must be followed by bold, aligned action. Not someday, not when things are perfect, not when you've got it all figured out, now. Because real belief doesn't wait. Real belief doesn't need a full blueprint. Real belief steps out with conviction, even in the middle of uncertainty. And that's the difference between people who talk about change and people who create it. You've got to stop waiting for clarity and start moving with courage. Waiting until you're ready is a trap. Because the truth is, you're never really going to feel ready to do the thing that stretches you. You won't feel ready to launch the business, write the book, speak on the stage, walk away from what's comfortable, or step into something new. Readiness is not a requirement, willingness is. If you're willing to trust your vision more than your excuses, willing to risk being uncomfortable in the pursuit of your calling, willing to act before the path is fully clear, that's when momentum shows up. That's when things start moving. Aligned action isn't just about doing more, it's about doing the right things that match the future you're stepping into. Action that's fueled by fear just keeps you busy. Action that's fueled by alignment with your purpose, your gift, and your belief produces transformation. You can't think your way into a new life. You can't manifest your way there by just journaling and vision boarding. Those tools are useful, but without action, they're just decoration. The universe doesn't respond to potential, it responds to movement. It responds to energy. It responds to bold, imperfect steps. And yes, it's going to feel messy. Yes, it's going to feel scary. That's how you know you're doing it right. If you're waiting until you're 100% confident before you act, you'll never act. Confidence is not a prerequisite, it's a byproduct. It comes after you move, after you show up, after you fail a few times, adjust and try again. You don't grow by planning your way into perfection. You grow by showing up and doing the work while you're still unsure. That's the faith walk. That's the muscle that creates change. Let me give you a quick story that makes this real. There was a guy named Jordan who had a dream to start his own fitness brand. He was passionate, knowledgeable, and had a unique approach that combined mindset and movement, but he kept putting it off. He told himself he needed a better website, better camera, a few more certifications, just a little more time. Meanwhile, months passed, then a full year, no clients, no impact, no income, just planning. One day, a friend looked him dead in the eye and said, "You don't need another course, you need courage." That shook him. Jordan realized he was hiding behind preparation. He was using "I'm not ready yet" as a shield. So he made a decision. That same week he went live on Instagram with his first workout session. No fancy lights, no branding, just him and a phone. It wasn't perfect, in fact it was a little rough, but someone watched. Then someone shared, then a few more tuned in the next time. Within a month, he had paying clients. Within a year, he'd built a six-figure coaching business. Not because he waited for perfect conditions, but because he moved when he was willing. That's what bold, aligned action looks like. It's not about having everything figured out. It's about making a decision in an imperfect situation because you believe in what's possible. That's what faith is. It's walking forward without needing all the answers. It's betting on your future more than you fear your failure. So let me ask you, what are you putting off right now because you're waiting to feel ready? What vision is sitting on pause because you're afraid to look foolish? What opportunity are you ignoring because it doesn't feel safe yet? The truth is, nothing changes until you do. And the moment you choose bold, aligned action, you change the game. You shift the atmosphere. You start building evidence that you're exactly who you've been waiting for. You don't need perfect timing. You don't need perfect confidence. You don't need everyone to understand. You need one thing: movement. One small step in alignment with your belief. One bold decision that says, I may not have all the answers, but I refuse to stay stuck. Because action is the bridge between who you are and who you were born to be. So don't wait until you're ready. Move when you're willing. Willing to stretch, willing to risk, willing to rise, because your breakthrough isn't waiting on more information. It's waiting on you. Let me leave you with this. Every champion, every millionaire, every legacy builder you admire, they didn't start at the top. They started where you are, with a choice. A decision to believe in themselves when no one else would. A decision to silence the critics and amplify their calling. Today's your turn. Today's your time to say, I believe in me. I am powerful. I am chosen. I am unstoppable. Because when belief becomes your foundation, action becomes your weapon, and purpose becomes your path, nothing can stop you. Believe in yourself and watch the world get out of your way.